Hey everybody, my name is Omar. I'm a member of the offer group called the Dirtbag Garage. And over the years, I've done a lot of different builds. I've built mini trucks, Evos, Beamers, things like CTSVs. And previously I had a 2014 Toyota Tundra. That was a mid-travel build, front and rear gears, lockers, Icon Stage 9 kit. I think that was a really good truck for me. But over the years that I've built these vehicles, I've never taken anything from start to finish, like all the modifications I've done and the maintenance stuff. So I made a change recently. I picked up this 2000 Toyota Tundra behind me, and kind of wanted to show everything that I've looked for in this truck and the things that I'm gonna finish. So let's do a quick walk around. I'll show you the truck, show you the things I looked for when I bought it, and some of the things that are gonna immediately need to be swapped out. And we'll go over some stuff, what I like about this truck versus my old build. So like I mentioned, this is a 2000 Toyota Tundra. Funny thing about the Tundras is we're going to be called the T150s after the T100, but Ford ended up suing Toyota, so they ended up having to change the name. That's why it's called the Toyota Tundra. This has the V8 from the old Land Cruisers and Sequoias, so this is a really strong V8. And that's why I also chose it. I didn't want to go with the V6. I wanted the torque, I wanted the extra power. So along with that, the cabs in these is a little bigger. So I always felt like Tacomas were a little work truckish. They kind of felt really boxy. So this has plenty of room, and it's going to be important for me because I do a lot of mountain bike races, and I did a lot of long distance traveling for that, and some of the trails that we do are really far away. So comfort inside the cab at least would be very high on the priority list. And the overall size of this vehicle is a lot smaller than my previous Tundra. I think right now it's sitting, I don't know, maybe like a foot and a half less wide than my previous Tundra. I was sitting at about 88 to 90 inches width-wise. The length-wise, this has got to be maybe a foot or two shorter, maybe like a foot and a half shorter than my previous Tundra. So again, that last Tundra that I had it built pretty well. It did everything. It did all the trails that I wanted to do. Probably the hardest trail that it did in that truck was maybe John Bull, and I hope this truck would be a lot more capable than that. And the reason behind doing a switch as well is that this truck is a lot more compact, so I'm going to be able to get through some of those tight sections a little easier. And just sitting in the truck, I already have a better view of the passenger side. It's just one of those things that really challenged me with the bigger Tundra, was just the overall width and just gigantic size of the thing. Is when you're on the trail, it's just kind of a little unnerving to kind of always guess where the passenger side of your vehicle was. And so something I never really got used to, and the long wheelbase was something that I definitely had to challenge myself to understand, going over the same obstacles that some of my other buddies would be going over with their Tacomas or FJs or 4Runners or whatever they're running. So one of the other obvious things is this is an older truck, so it's not perfect, but it's definitely going to do the job. And if I had kept my other Tundra anymore, I would have definitely gone the long travel route and started cutting it up more, and it just would get to a point of no return. And so I just decided to see if I could dump it and then pick up something like this, where I wouldn't be afraid to beat it up and maybe brush against some rocks and cut up the fenders and whatnot. So this is also the purpose of getting an older truck like this. As long as the reliability is there, has good bones, should last a long time and do everything my other truck did. So starting out in the front of the truck, this guy had prefabricated his own bumper. Looks like it's a little short from the sides, but we can deal with that. It gives us at least clearance to do 35s to 37s down the road. The only problem is he's got stock recovery points, which may or may not be a good thing. I think we can still put a shackle here and be okay, but if we were to add recovery points to this tubing's gonna get too hot and not be able to withstand adding those recovery points. We might have to start from scratch with the whole thing anyways. So up here we have Cali raised light bar, we have some pods. May move these to the back with some yellow tint maybe, and put some Bajas up here. Looks like he's got some aftermarket headlights, 17-inch Pro Comp wheels, some 33s. We have some pretty poor condition Fox 2.5s with an external reservoir, Total Chaos upper control arms, and in the rear we have, I believe, Fox 2.0s with a piggyback and zip ties. Yeah. So down here looks like we have maybe 33, but at least it's a full size spare, which means hopefully we can do some cutting down here and add a 35, so we're gonna have to carry it in the bed. This is an SR5, so I don't know if it came with a tow package because this looks like an aftermarket hitch. But that's gonna come out anyways because we have a high clearance bumper on the way, and gonna cut this guy off, and it's got an integrated hitch, so all that's gonna come out anyways. Yeah, but for the most part, that's our basic starting point. This thing is pretty clean in the interior for the most part. Doesn't look like anybody ever sat back here, to be honest. We got a couple of the switches up here. We have a sound system with subwoofer, so that's pretty cool. But in here, it's pretty clean, other than a tiny tear there. But you got some seat covers on the way. I already got some WeatherTech mats, must have for off-roading. Inside the engine bay, not much to show you there, to be honest. But that's what it looks like. We have a cold air intake, carb legal. Decently clean for what it is. Looks like we got some wiring we need to clean up here, a little corrosion. But all the wiring for the switches is here. But for the most part, this guy had done, some maintenance to it. He already had changed out the spark plugs, the coil packs. He changed out the starter. He did the valve covers. There was a small oil leak under here, and it is no longer leaking. Looks like he took a pretty hard hit to the oil pan, and I was kind of fearing that the seal would be compromised and I would have to change the whole pan, but it looks like it's not leaking anymore, which is kind of cool. It looks like the problem was that he reused a crush washer, which you should never do. But yeah, other than that, everything down here looks okay. There wasn't any major rust. I checked the whole thing. The only other thing that I have to really address up here is that the CV boot on both this side and the driver's side are torn. There's no grease in there, so it is probably like metal to metal. And you hear that jiggle? It's got some nasty jiggle. Yeah, so when I've been driving, I've been getting kind of like this weird swaying, floating feeling. And I get some clunks over bumps and whatnot, so I'm gonna swap out both the CV axles, and then if I can reboot them, I might just use these as spares just to get me off the trail or whatnot. But definitely they need to be swapped out. The good thing is this guy also changed out the radiator, so that's another thing I won't have to do, but definitely gonna change the tranny fluid, transfer case fluid. I have a re-gear appointment at the end of the month, so we're gonna go to 488 gears because we're gonna go up to 35s, and then a rear locker. So the gear oil will be changed out then. The carrier bearing on the drive shaft was already changed out, so we only really have to worry about greasing the U-joints, and then other than that, this truck should be good to go. Plans for this truck are going to be long travel. After all the maintenance stuff's done, we're going to do long travel in the front, upper and lower control arms, hopefully the spindles as well. Kings 3.0s in the front, and in the rear, hopefully I can do a bed cage with the triple bypass, stevers, shackle, maybe a spring over kit to give me as much flex in the truck as I could. But yeah, I'm really excited to show the progress on this truck. It's going to be a long process, but like I said, I'm going to hope to take you from start to finish. So if you want to check out the builds I've done in the past, go ahead and check out my page on Instagram. It's Dr. Omiz. It's Doctor, says DR_OMIZ. Or check out the Dirtbag Garage on Instagram as well. That's one word. And then just check out the progress on this build. I'll be posting up a lot. So hope you guys enjoy it as much as I will.